All right. Welcome to episode 10 of the All American Hoops podcast. I'm Chris Driscoll, and I'm once again welcomed by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll.
Chris, it's always a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. So, it is Wednesday nights, also the last night of the NBA All-Star break. I, for one, am super thrilled because watching going a week without watching any basketball, it's been tough. Not gonna lie. As one of the biggest NBA fans out there, yeah, it's been tough not watching basketball, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of these breaks always make me realize how much I rely on the Celtics. Watching the
Exactly.
Celtics is just part of my day.
Yeah, make the Celtics part of your day. Also, it's also this past Sunday was the first Sunday without football. That was really weird as well. Yeah, thank God we have spring training coming up because obviously the basketball takes up enough of my time. But however, baseball is also just a beautiful thing, and something just always something that I can do while folding laundry. Yeah, but speaking of, and notice how I said it's been tough not watching basketball, and that's mainly because, as probably the number one complaint on Twitter, this past week, has been complaining about the current NBA All Star format. So, for those of you who don't know, basically the way that the NBA All Star Weekend, it's like a whole weekend, as I just said. Friday night they have a NBA celebrity game, which from what I heard was pretty competitive this year. Yeah, I didn't watch that at all, honestly. There was also the Rising Stars Challenge. Then Saturday night is probably like the most busy nights. They have the NBA Skills Challenge, they have the dunk contest, and of course the 3-point contest. And then Sunday is of course the All Star Game. So I'll talk briefly about a little bit of those. So um, I've never been someone to watch the Friday night games. I definitely don't watch the Celebrity All Star Game. I feel like I watched the first couple years of it. It was pretty fun, but I feel like lately, um, they just really haven't been having on the best people for that. And keep in mind, I'm only 24 years old. And I saw a list of the celebrities that were playing. Outside of the coaches, I knew like 2 or 3 people playing. Like Michael Parsons, from what I heard, was a big time tryhard during the game. He's like the only person that I knew, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. Um, and then also they also have the Rising Stars Challenge, which they have like a draft for the certain players. I'm not a big fan of that either. I just rather, again, I'm a traditional guy. I would have just rather they kept the rookie versus sophomores challenge because I feel like everyone enjoyed that. I really loved it when John Wall was a rookie competing with the sophomores. But yeah, yeah, I don't know, Matt. Is there anything that you would change with the Friday night schedule?
Like you said, I didn't really watch a lot of it. The celebrity game I didn't even watch. Like you said, I saw the list. I'm 21 years old. I still didn't know a lot of those people, and the people I knew about, I didn't really care about that played. The Rising Stars Challenge. I agree. Like when it was rookie sophomore is very cool, but I also like how the G Leaguers were involved in it, and somehow because they were actually trying, which was like one of the only parts of the All Star game where people were trying. So that was cool. But I agree. I think it should just be like one game, no draft, really.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, the G League. Yeah, I love how the NBA is continuing to expand to the G League because I do feel like one of the MLB's strongest assets is actually the minor leagues as well. So the fact that the NBA is continuing to embrace like the G League path is pretty cool. But yeah, as I mentioned, Saturday night, the 3 big events are the Skills Challenge, um, the 3-point contest, and the dunk contest. Skills Challenge. Not really. Yeah, like skill challenge has always been kind of mad at me. It's kind of cool. But then this year it was kind of a wash where they had the 3 indie players versus the 3 former first round picks. And listen, all of us are big Anthony Edwards fans. I thought him shooting with only his left hand was a little corny. And again, I know not everyone's going to take things 100% seriously, but I just you got to give the people a show, and I really didn't appreciate that. And then of course the 3-point contest. 3-point contest is always something that I feel like is something I feel like that is never going to die down, and it's always going to be one of the highlights of the weekend. And I think the NBA continued to improve that this year. It was a good show because Dame, Cat, and Trae Young all competed, and it was a really tight race. And then also, and I think the NBA nailed on the head when they had Steph go against Sabrina for the 3-point contest. We can debate all day long as to whether or not the WNBA players could play in the NBA or not. But I'm always one who said if we're talking skill alone, you got players like Sabrina and Caitlin Clark. they can 100% compete with the NBA as far as it goes for just simply shooting and ball handling. And Sabrina showed that she, and the only reason why she lost was the fact that she went up against the Godzilla 3-point shooting. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree totally. The skills challenge, I really didn't like. A lot of the years I like followed along on Twitter, see who won. Besides the year like Tatum was in it, I think it was his second year. But I saw like the highlights of Anthony Edwards shooting left-handed. Like it was stupid. Like it just shows like people don't really care about it. But um, and then I also saw like Scotty Barnes had like he like dribbled off his foot or something. I saw that on Twitter.
Right.
3-point contest was cool. I always enjoy watching it. Because you can't really like not try in it. Like you either make it or you miss it. But that's very cool. In the dunk contest has kind of been a wash. Oh, did we touch on the dunk contest?
No, go ahead though. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the dunk contest has kind of been a wash in recent years. Jaylen Brown was the first All-Star to compete in it since I think 2013 with DeAndre Jordan. And like he's a great in-game dunker, but as like one of his biggest fans, he was not great in the dunk contest. He was fine, like it was fine, but it wasn't like super cool dunks. And I think the fact that Mac McClung has won the past 2 years as a G leaguer, like it's cool that he's winning it because he's like doing it for money, like he's trying. But I don't know. I think it's better when like all stars and like known players are in it.
Yeah, I just think it's weird because you're right that the dunk contest has been a wash for a little bit, but however, they kind of revived themselves in like the 2016, 17, 18. Maybe it was even more recent that Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine put together probably like the best dunk contest. I don't want to say of all time because it was really cool. And Vince Carter, Dominique Wilkins, just like those guys, like all time dunkers. Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine put together one of the best shows, and it's not like this was like ancient years ago. This was just a couple years ago. Like the two of them are very much in their respective. Maybe they're not playing their best basketball, but they're definitely like at the age where they could be playing their best basketball. So it's definitely not like, yeah, I don't know. People are saying to get rid of it altogether. Like we're at the points where like we've seen humans do everything they can with the dunk. I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that, but I don't think there would be many people that upset if they canceled the dunk contest altogether, given the fact of its popularity. But yeah, we love Jaylen Brown. Definitely wasn't his best showing, but yeah, I appreciated him.
I thought it was cool that he did it though, because he's
oh yeah, 100%.
known player. I hope more people follow him.
Absolutely, yeah. And then that leads us to Sunday nights. And Matt and I talked about it before the podcast. Neither of us paid attention to it at all. Maybe like I had it in the background. I was actually doing some historical work for like, yeah, you guys know I'm a big historian for the NBA. So I was doing some research on that. I was doing some spreadsheet stuff with that playing in the background. And it's not because it was a blowout. It was because it wasn't basketball that was being played. And listen, I know there's not much incentive to it now, but there shouldn't have to be incentive for like what's supposed to be the 24 best basketball players in a room together, and they're supposed to just ball out. And I don't know, like I understand like there hasn't been defense being played for years now, but this was a whole nother level, and I just didn't appreciate it at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. Past couple of years, I think they got rid of it either this year or last year when there was the target score, I think of 24, where the team that's winning at the end of the fourth has to score. They had 24 to their score and they played to that. I think that was a great idea. I don't know why they got rid of that. I think they should keep that.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw people suggesting like maybe not for the game, but for the dunk contest, getting rid of that and putting in like a 1v1 tournament. I think players would take more pride in that than in just like a 5v5 because you can just like not try on defense if you're off ball and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe a 1v1 tournament will make these guys try more, but I agree with what you're saying. It totally stunk again.
Yeah. And I don't know. And kind of like the dunk contest, like yes, like it has gotten worse through the years, but however, you look back, it was 2020 where they established the Kobe rule when he tragically passed away. But that was a fantastic night. And I understand like it's not going to be very tight every single time, but it was an awesome thing to see. And then they went back. If we go back a couple years before that, 2018 was the first year that they implemented the All-Star team captains in the drafts, which they got rid of it this year. again, I don't know why they got rid of that. I know some people just thought that the team captains kind of ran their course. I think it only ran its course just because we had the same captains every single year. It was always LeBron versus either Giannis or KD. Besides the first year when it was Steph, but the first year that they had it was fantastic. So I don't know what changes. I don't know what changes they can make. I've seen some people suggest to make the winner of the All-Star game make it the home team. Sorry, the winner of the conference that wins gets home court in the finals. I think that's an awful idea. The MLB did that for years, and literally from I think I have the years right. It's 1998 to 2009. The American League won every single year, and then NL won 2010 to 2012, and then the American League won every single year up until last year. So, and I saw another thing. Just imagine if the Heat had home court last year against the Nuggets when they were the 8th seed. That would be horrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like let's say like the Celtics make the finals this year. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown shouldn't have to rely on Trae Young shooting 4-15 from the field if it's East versus West. I think it's a horrible idea, like you said, with the MLB All-Star games. Like in past years, or not past years, decades, the AL has practically ran the All-Star game. So I'm happy the MLB got rid of that rule, and I don't think the NBA would put it in. I hope definitely hope they don't.
Yeah, I don't think they will either, but I've seen a lot of TikTok and Twitter creators saying otherwise. But yeah, I don't see it happening. But anyway, enough of us talking like a bunch of 75-year-olds about how great things were back in the day. But yeah, so now we're gonna be a little more positive. Now we're gonna talk about the rest of the season and which teams we're all looking forward to watching. We'll get out of the way. So first we'll talk about our Boston Celtics. So the Celtics are, as we say, they're an absolute wagon. They've been playing the best basketball of in the league. They're first in offense, third in defense, first in net rating, point differential, and then also one stat that I like to use, Basketball Reference uses, it's called Simple Rating System, that basically just combines net rating and strength of schedule, and the Celtics are out of the below teams out of the water in that too. So watching Jason Tatum yet again playing like it's like a top 5 player in the league. Maybe he's not a top, I think he's a top 5 MVP candidate, but some people may disagree with that. That's fine. But yeah, seeing him continue to emerge as a superstar, seeing Jaylen Brown expand his game big time, despite what the advanced stats say. I'm not going to get into those. He's playing his best basketball in his career so far. Porzingis has been fantastic. There's much more to say, but I don't want to take up too much of Matt's time. So what are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, you touched on a lot of things that I had. First in the league, first in net rating. You didn't. I don't know if you talked about Kristaps Porzingis, but he just makes them such a better team than they were last year. He adds a total different element. I believe the Celtics are first in the league in post-ups per game, and he also stretches the floor because he can shoot it at a 35% from three. And I think Tatum, you said top 4 player, top 5 player in the league, wherever you want to have him. He's playing at MVP level. He won't win because there are other guys that have better counting stats, but his just effect when he's on the floor, it's so prevalent in the game. And I also had another thing on my notes. I had just credit to Joe Mazzulla. A lot of people hate on him on Twitter, but he totally does not get the respect he deserves. He has the number 1 offense in the league, number 3 defense. What more can you ask? And I think that's also credit to the bench coaches this year. Have done a great job, like Sam Cassell, with Tatum's game.
Yeah, they better win it this year. That's all I'm gonna say. This is the best. This is the best regular season team that they've had since the 08 Celtics, I would say. I don't think there are many other great teams. If you want to maybe say the 2018 Celtics when they went on that massive 16-game run, but even then they fell apart towards the end as well. So this has to be the year. And I can't wait. I really I say it every year. I really hope they win, but this year they have to win it this year. I can't wait any longer.
Yeah. This is totally the best team I've ever seen them have. So
absolutely,
I really hope it's this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so obviously they're the number 1 team that we'll watch since we're huge fans. But Matt, can you tell me one of the other teams that that you jotted down for teams you're looking forward to watching?
I know a lot of people talk about them because they're young and a fun team, but I wanted to just talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Um, we talked about Tatum being in the MVP conversation. I think SGA is in the MVP conversation. I think he's a top 10 player in the league by now. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but they're second in the West, second in net rating. Uh, Young guys like Shea obviously stepped up, but also Chet. It's his first year playing, second year in the league. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year, I don't think, because of Victor, but he's like I think the second betting favorite now. And also Jalen Williams is a future star. I think he's averaging like close to 20 points on like 50% shooting, 54% shooting, I think it was. So just another great player. They're going to be a fun team to watch. We'll see what they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Shea's playing like a top 10 player for sure. Anyone who knows me, I kind of do my rankings weird. I usually like to wait a little longer before I bump up younger players. Even though Shea's not too young, he's only 4 months younger than Tatum, but I digress. Yeah, I just got to see Shea play like this in the playoffs, which I think he will. I'm not doubting him at all. But yeah, he's got to show me a little more than that. But yeah, Shea's been fantastic this year. J-Dub has been awesome as well. Yeah, as we mentioned, Chet won't win Rookie of the Year, but he's been anchoring the second best defense in the league, so that's awesome to see. Yeah, like the Thunder are a fun team. I don't know what their ceiling is in the playoffs. Can they make the finals? I don't know. Can they make the conference finals? Absolutely yes. I don't know. Yeah, like I feel like on Twitter, I'm probably the biggest Thunder hater, mainly just because I'm someone who I don't hate young teams, but I usually just don't like to give them their flowers until they've earned them, and I feel like you have to earn your flowers in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes there.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I probably have them in third to come out of the West, like my third choice, because I have
Okay.
we'll talk about the Clippers later and
Yep.
the Nuggets as well ahead of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just a young, fun team. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just brought the Clippers, so yeah. Yeah. Why don't we jump right into them then? So yeah, my Los Angeles Clippers. I know they're not my number one team, but I still say my Clippers because Kawhi Leonard is one of my favorite players in the league, and also I predicted the Clippers to make the finals this year, and that was before the James Harden trade, so I can't take too much credit. Um, but yeah, since December 1st, they're first in offense and 17th in defense. So that is a valid that is 100% a concern for the Clippers is their defense. They're more specifically their interior defense. As much as point of attack defense has proven to be very important this year, with certain teams that we'll talk about later. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George continue to be all NBA, like all NBA defense caliber players. They got to have some. They got to improve their interior defense. There's not much they can do with roster changes now, but Sviatoslav Zubac, Mason Plumlee, our guy Daniel Tice, they're
Yes,
gonna
sir.
need to, yeah, the goat. They're gonna need to. They're just going to need to like beef it up just a little bit in the playoffs. Obviously, when you have the best offense in the league, when you have 3 All-Star caliber players in Kawhi, PG, and James Harden, it's you're going to be one of the best offenses in the league. But despite popular belief, defense does win championships. Don't let the Nuggets tell you otherwise. Pretty much every championship team for the past few years has had a top 10 defense. So maybe basketball is evolving. Maybe maybe having a lead offense is the only thing that's important now. I'm not going to believe that until I see more than a couple years of that. So that's my take on the Clippers.
Yeah, I just want to give you a shout out at the beginning of the year. You picked the Clippers to come out of the West, and a lot of people clowned you, including myself a little bit. But and you stuck with them with the Harden trade. So they're fifth in net rating right now, and they've just been improving. I think they're second in the West. So yeah, they're definitely a team to watch. But I do agree with you about the defensive side. Definitely a big question mark.
And I just said, yeah, and I just wanted to address that. I said our guy Daniel Tice. I just want to elaborate. Daniel Tice was a fantastic Celtic. Everyone loved him. He was a great teammate. He's not someone that you want to see in the finals, though. He's not someone who, yeah,
not a great player
nothing.
in the finals, but
No, he's not. Nor is he a great player in the Eastern Conference Finals. We won't talk about how he played against Bam Adebayo in the bubble. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll talk later. No, we won't talk later about that actually. So, yeah, but yeah, Matt, you want to add on to any of the other teams that we talked about earlier?
Yeah, I talked about the Nuggets shortly there. I think they're ninth in net rating right now, but I think they're better than their record shows for it. I think they're a team nobody wants to play in the playoffs. I think they're the team to beat in the West until somebody beats them. They have the MVP again on the team. think he was robbed last year, and I think he should win it again this year.
Mhm.
Uh, I've been seeing things like Jamal Murray is the first like big game merchant. If he doesn't play well against your team, now a true contender. So he's obviously stepped up in playoffs last year, and they're great at home. So home court advantage is massive in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. One thing I didn't mention earlier about them. Did you know that they're better on defense this year than offense, numbers wise?
But the Nuggets,
They're 13th in offense and 11th in defense. I thought that was pretty wild, given how their whole brand is. They have the best offensive player in the league, but he's not really anything in defense, which he's proven. He proved in the playoffs that he's better on defense than people thought. But yeah, I think that's interesting. But yeah, like you said, they're better than their record indicates. I think that you got the best big men in the league. You got Jamal Murray, one of the best big time performers in the league. Beginning of the season, I think I had him just inside the top 30. I saw the Ringer came out with their lists. They had him at 19th. I paused for a second, but then I realized if you value the playoffs, he's got to be in your top 20. And yeah, I would say, and besides Bruce Brown, they really don't have many other. They didn't lose many of their players, so yeah, they're not as good. Yeah, they haven't been playing as good this year, but they've given us a lot. They gave us a lot of reason last year to give them the benefit of the doubt for sure. But speaking of giving teams the benefit of the doubt, the next team I'll talk about is the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know if they've earned if they've earned the benefit of the doubt that I'm giving them. It feels like that I'm really the only one who still believes that they're the second best team in the East. I believe in them much more than I believe in the Cavs and the Knicks, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Maybe it's just because I still think Giannis is a top two player in the league. He has his limitations for sure. He doesn't really have a go-to move. Can't really shoot the ball. But that being said, when he's locked in, he's locked in. And I think that when he's fully healthy, I don't know many teams that can stop him. Also, Damian Lillard. Obviously the three of us clowned on him a ton when we decided not to draft him in our draft. I shouldn't say, or we passed on him with 23 players ahead of him. He's still someone that compared to the other players in the East, I trust him a little more in the playoffs, even though he hasn't played in the playoffs the past 2 years. And the Bucks are 3-7 in the Doc Rivers era, so that's obviously a big concern. But I just think that a lot of that is growing pains. But yeah, like I have one more thing to say about the Bucks, but I just want to hear what you had to say before I give my take on that.
Yeah, I know you say give them the benefit of the doubt, which I will. They won the championship in 2021, just a couple of years ago, but there are a lot of question marks. Doc Rivers, I know you won our Celtics championship. I know you actually give him the benefit of the doubt a lot, but he came out and said, like, I don't know why they fired Adrian Griffin, which I also don't know why they fired him. He was first year coach, and they were second in the East when they fired him. And like you said, 3-7 in the Doc Rivers era, it's not looking great, but it probably is just growing pains. But they're 17th in defense this year. And when you have Giannis and Brook Lopez on your team, you should never be, I think, out of the top 10 in defense. So they're fifth in offense, which is good, but like you said earlier, defense win championships, and I don't know if they got it this year.
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, like Giannis, Lopez, but then every other player, it's just tough. Yeah, like you can't really trust Dame, Malik Beasley, Pat Connaughton, who else they have? Chris Middleton, who's injury prone now. It's tough. But one more thing I wanted to mention, because we mentioned Giannis and Dame. So Giannis and Dame, when they were on the court together, they are at a plus 9.42 rating, net rating. That's fantastic. Their big problem is not only can the Bucks not live without them, they can't live without each other. They are both at a negative rating when the other one is off the court. That is a massive red flag. The fact that Giannis is a negative the fact that when Giannis is on the floor and Dame isn't, they are at a negative rating. I don't think that's acceptable. And despite what I just said about Giannis and how I still trust him and everything, it's not a great look that you just traded your second best player for a guy who was debatably top 10 coming into the year. He's not top 10 now, don't get me wrong, but it's a red flag. And one more thing I'll say about Dame is he has a as much as I use true shooting percentage all the time, that's my go-to efficiency stat, because it tells most of the story. Dame is like 59% true shooting. I don't believe that at all. He's someone who, like as we like to call it, he's kind of been a free throw merchant lately. He's and and geez, the second episode in a row we're bad mouthing Dame all the time, but if we're gonna talk about Joel Embiid, if we're gonna talk about Giannis, if we're gonna talk about James Harden in his prime, we have to talk about Damian Lillard too. He's living at the free throw line and surviving off the free throw line too. Will that last in the playoffs?
Yeah, usually the play style doesn't translate to the playoffs well. I think it's different with Giannis because he's a big guy. Like he's, bumping into people like they are fouling him. But Dame as a second option, averaging over 10 free throws a game is or I think it's about 10 free throws a game is kind of ridiculous. It's just an unethical way to play. I don't think it will translate to playoffs.
Exactly. We got a couple more teams to talk about. Matt, I think you have one more team that you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I want to mention the we said we're going to pick a couple teams and then a dark horse. This is my dark horse. It's the New York Knicks. Since they've made the trade for OG Anunoby, which we had an episode about, and we were like, when the trade came out originally, I was like, I don't really know. Like, I think he'll fit well, but I don't know if this moves the needle for them. But they're 12-2 with games that he's played. Obviously, he's out for I think another week and a half. But 12-2 in teams he's played. They struggled as of late. They're 1-5 in their last 6, but that's purely because of injuries. Julius Randle out, OG Anunoby out. They've Mitchell Robinson out, and Hartenstein's out too. But Mitchell Robinson apparently might be back for the playoffs, which I think will be big for them. They're 6th in net rating. They're top 10 in both offense and defense. So I think their play style totally translates well to the playoffs as well. Tibbs system, they're great defense, slow offense. So that also, like, the pace of play slows down a lot in the playoffs. But the big question mark with them is, can they beat teams that are over 500? They're 11-20 versus teams that are 500. That's a big and major concern. But with the new team structure, I think they can make a deep playoff push.
Yeah, 100% agree with everything there. I talked about this with Nick from Fadeaway World when he was on my show a couple weeks ago, a couple of days after the trade deadline. The Knicks won the deadline without a doubt. They were able to get not only are they top 10 in every important metric that I use when I write my power rankings every single week. They're top 10 in net rating, both offense and defense, which usually championship teams are great on both ends. Top 10 in SRS, the stat I mentioned earlier. And the fact that they decided to, a lot of teams, like when they make a big move, they just decide to pause a little bit and see how things roll out. The fact that they attempted to improve, and I think they're with there's not enough of a sample size yet because OG and Julius Randle have been out, but I think they're going to be successful in improving there. They have one of the better starting fives in the league and also one of the better benches. So I think the only knock wood, but I would say objectively speaking, I think the only team that they'd have a hard time beating is the Celtics. But I'm never going to say that a team can't beat the Celtics because that's obviously bad karma there. But like they're everything you want. They have I guess the only thing that they don't have under a traditional championship team is a overall superstar. Jalen Brunson is a star in the league. He's an all-star without a doubt. But again, there's a whole issue that Candace Parker brought up. Besides Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas, and people always forget Dwayne Wade, even though he's not really small, but 6'4", I'd consider like on the border. Those three guys are all top 30 guys in my eyes, and Jalen Brunson just isn't that. So they just need us. I don't know. Like if you're not going to win with a superstar, I think this is the best way to approach being on making a championship formula.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the point about Jalen Brunson not being a star, I think he could become like the like not a face of a league star, but like a superstar, what people say, with the deep playoff push here. But definitely question marks. Like he played well in the playoffs last year, but everyone else didn't step up in the second round. Right. So we'll see what happens this year.
And the same list that I brought up earlier with the Ringer, when they had Murray at 19, they had Jalen Brunson at 15, which I scoffed at first, but again, if you're going to be elite in the playoffs and then back it up by being the first or second best guard in the East this year, that's you're without a doubt top, like borderline top 15. Like maybe not exactly top 15, but you got to be at least considered.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the I have two more teams that are on my list, but one of the last teams is the Knicks. One of the Knicks. It feels like the two of them are in a sentence all the time now. It's the Knicks and the Cavaliers. And the Cavs aren't really like. I'm not going to even talk about the negatives at first, but yeah, obviously when you win 18 out of 20 games, this late in the season, you got to be at least on the list of teams that people are considering to be contenders. Donovan Mitchell isn't really like when you hear superstar, he's not really someone that comes up. I still think he's absolutely top 20. I think close to top 15. He was pretty brutal last year in the playoffs, and then in the series in the year before that, he had a tough series against Luka and the Mavs. But before that, 2018, 19, and 20. Yeah, 2018, 19, 20. He was fantastic in the playoffs. So he's someone that I trust in the playoffs, especially this year. He's playing. I know the Pick Aside podcast yesterday was debating as to whether or not he's an MVP candidate. I don't know if he's an MVP candidate, but however, when your team is that good, you gotta have someone who's leading the conversation, and he's been fantastic with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley missing a large portion of the game. So I'm a huge fan of Donovan Mitchell. I think he should have started the All-Star game. I don't know if he can be the best player on a championship team, but as of now, they're second they're second in the East, and one of the best defenses in the league. So yeah, I think actually it might be the best defense in the league actually after the Wolves. But yeah, there's a ton to like about the Cavs besides their superstar. Besides whether they have a superstar or not.
Yeah, like you said, they're second in the league in defense in the last 20 games. I think you said they're 18-2. They've just it's been on an incredible run, but a lot of question marks, I would say. Their bench kind of concerns me. They're 15th in offense. Last year, they kind of crumbled in the playoffs. So I think you have to prove in the playoffs before I consider you a real contender. But I probably have them either as probably my fourth pick to come out of the East behind the Celtics, Knicks, and Bucks. Mm-hmm. But on a great run, very fun team to watch, but a lot of question marks.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I'd probably have them slightly ahead of the Knicks, but maybe my Knicks hate will continue to eat my words again for the past. Yeah, I don't know if Dean's with you now, but so. Yeah, and then the last team, I'm going to briefly touch on other teams after this, but the last team that we'll dive deeper into is the team I mentioned, the best defense in the league, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And yeah, they had two All-Stars in both Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. I still think that Rudy Gobert should. I don't know if Rudy Gobert should have made it, but I think that he deserved it more than Karl-Anthony Towns simply because the Wolves have the best defense in the league, and Rudy Gobert has been the main reason for that. And I know it's just a defense wins championships. Offense also wins championships too. So I don't know how good the Wolves can be. Under my power rankings for this week, I had them at number 2 simply because of their full body of work. They were beginning of the year, it was the Celtics, the Timberwolves, and everyone else. The Timberwolves kind of slipped for a little bit, but the past 10 games or so, they've been 7-3, but they've also been fantastic advanced stats wise. So people debate as to whether or not you can trust Rudy Gobert in the playoffs. I do trust Gobert in the playoffs because people talk about how you can go 5 out on him and he has to move a little more. I feel like a lot of that has to do with just the fact that the Jazz had god-awful perimeter defense. And I think that the fact that he has Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and I feel like I'm missing someone else, but that type of a great perimeter defense is going to be greatly beneficial for them in come playoff time.
Yeah, shout out Ryan McManus, as I always do with the Timberwolves. I just want to put my hand up and apologize to you and Rudy Gobert personally for the Rudy Gobert hate I've given you in the offseason. I was definitely wrong about him. He's the main reason why the Timberwolves defense is so elite, and this is why they're first in the West, second in the league. Obviously, Ant is a future superstar, great player. And recently they just extended Mike Conley. He's just a very, very good player. Yeah. Mike Conley's, I think he'll be great in the playoffs for them. But yeah, definitely a team to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to beat the allegations of debating with you and John about Rudy Gobert, and then I mentioned how he's a great screener, which is true. He's a great screener, but however, that's not something to. That's not something
that matter. That's that people don't talk about.
Of course, yeah. but but yeah, like I don't know. I don't know the Timberwolves ceiling. I definitely think they can make the finals. I believe in them slightly more than I believe in the Thunder. I don't know why. The Thunder are the better team advanced stats wise. But I don't know. Maybe I just trust Ants a little more than I trust SGA. Maybe it's also that I just like. Maybe it's also that I like Gobert a little bit more than Chet. But obviously the Thunder are the much better offensive team. So, yeah. So there's a lot of reason to believe the Thunder are better. But I just have the good feeling that the Wolves are going to be a little better come playoff time.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
I don't disagree with that, but
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
a fair
Obviously,
take.
we won't know until playoff time, and also for the next 20 games or so, we'll see how the seedings end up working out. And speaking of seedings, because we did mention the top 4 teams in the West, we have um, we talked about the Wolves, we talked about the Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Clippers. I do think that it will come down to those 4 teams. However, and we've the past week, I guess only the past couple of days or so, we've been talking about the faces of basketball. So the three people are saying LeBron and Steph, but I think the third face is Kevin Durant. And the Suns have been the Suns are the Suns are the 6th seed in the West. Sixth or no, fifth. Sorry, yeah. Or they're tied for fifth and sixth with the Pelicans. That's right. So
Mm.
it's it's weird when you have Durant, when you have LeBron, and when you have Steph. I have a hard time counting you out, especially the Suns, because they've been much better with their big 3. And we can talk about them briefly. We don't need to go deep dive into all of them since we already did with the other teams. But the Suns have been much better with Durant running the 5 in late games. Is that sustainable come playoff time? I don't know. But I still believe when you have Durant, who's without a doubt a top 10 player, on the border of top 5, maybe he slipped a little bit due to his availability. With the Warriors have been a much better team since Draymond came back. And yeah, and obviously I trust Steph just as much as I trust any superstar in the playoffs. So, and then of course the Lakers, you got LeBron and AD, and they were playing really solid before the All-Star break. So, can those 3 teams make a run to the finals? I'm not sure. I probably trust the Suns more than I trust the other 2 teams. But can they beat any of those 4 teams in a early round playoff series? I think so. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that.
I think out of those 3 teams, I think the Suns are clearly the best. Like you said, the Warriors have been playing better with Draymond, but I don't know. They seem to be very old. I mean, I've
Yeah.
thought that the past couple years though, so obviously we know that hasn't been true. But um, I don't really think they are even close to being in contention this year.
Right.
They're 10th. They're playing the Lakers in the play-in right now. So they would have to play either the Timberwolves or the Thunder, and I would take either of those 2 teams over the Warriors. And the Lakers, I get you have LeBron, you can't count yourself out, but I don't know. Like I said, same with the Warriors. They either play the Timberwolves or the Thunder, and I take the Timberwolves and Thunder over them, both in the series.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. My and yeah, and I know this isn't an end all be all stuff by any means, obviously, because the Warriors are losing games. But the fact that the Warriors have Steph and Draymond, who I think are one of the best complementary duos of all time. I'm not saying I'm not comparing them to super starters. I'm talking to them about just complementary, star player,
Mm-hmm.
role player, like that. That's what I'm talking about. They're one of the best duos of all time, along with um and the fact that the Warriors are they're hanging in tight games, by the way, because they're the stat I was about to mention was they're 9th in SRS. So that's the only thing that's keeping me confident in them, besides also having Steph. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think they can make the finals, but I do think they can. I do think they can give maybe not beat those top 4 teams I mentioned, but I think they can at least give them a run for their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but before we wrap it up, today is February 21st. I had to check. So why don't we give our okay, so we both know our picks to win the finals. So just to spice this up, why don't we go with both sides of the bracket, what we think the conference finals is going to be?
All right, you want me to start?
Yep.
All right, so I believe that, hot take, a Celtics fan believes that the Celtics will make the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, and like I said, I think my dark horse, the New York Knicks, are also going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I just trust them more than the Cavs because of last year, and I think they're better than the Bucks are right now. I really do. So I think it'll be Celtics, Knicks, and I think the Celtics will beat them. I'll say in 6 games. And then on the Western Conference side, I am going to have the Denver Nuggets, who, like I said before, it's hard to count anyone out but Jokic. And for the also, I guess this isn't really spicing it up a little bit, but I'm gonna take the Minnesota Timberwolves to make the Western Conference Finals.
All right.
It was between them or the Clippers, but I think the defensive question mark with the Clippers will eventually catch up with them, which is why I believe Timberwolves will be there, and I think the Nuggets are going to beat the Timberwolves in 7 games, and for the finals it will be Nuggets Celtics, and unfortunately, I do not want to play the Nuggets in the finals, but I believe that the Celtics will win in 7 games.
That's right. Let me pull this up real quick. I don't know why it's. Oh, there we go. Okay, so just so people know, one of these 6 teams will win the NBA Finals. It's going to be either the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, and the Los Angeles Clippers. It is solely because those the Celtics have officially clinched winning 40 games before losing 20. The other 5 teams are still in the hunt. I think the Nuggets have to go 4-0, which I think they very well might. But I'm not saying those teams are going to win because they do it. I'm saying they have a much better chance. So it's going to be one of those 6 teams. So I will take the Celtics over the. I'm deciding between the Cavs and the Bucks. My heart wants to say the Cavs just because I love this stat so much, the 40-20 stats. But I'm going to go with the Bucks because I do trust Giannis still. Maybe the whole Doc Rivers not competing for the conference finals is gonna come back and hurt them, but we'll see. Yeah, but I'll still take the Celtics and the Bucks for now. And then my West pick, I'm going to take the Clippers. I'm going to hang on to them for a little bit and then see how it lines up. But then I will take the Clippers over the. I guess I'll take them over the Denver Nuggets too. So yeah, and then I'll take the Celtics over the Clippers as well. Obviously, playoff Kawhi is just the last person who I want to run into. So obviously, every single all these players, if they make it this far, whether it's Ants, whether it's SGA, if they make it to the finals, you don't want to run into them because they're gonna be that hot. But yeah, it sounds like we both agree on the Celtics, and we agree for the most part on what other teams that are competing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. I love the 40-20 Phil Jackson rule. I think that's awesome, and I'm happy the Celtics did it this year.
Yeah, me too. Last year, 3 teams. It was the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Nuggets that achieved it. So, and the Nuggets obviously won the finals, and pretty much and I just want to add context for the viewers. Pretty much every single team besides the 2021 Bucks, I think it was the 06 Heat and the 04 Pistons are like the only teams in the past 30 plus years that didn't follow that rule. So that's why I have such strong feelings about it. But anyway, that'll do it for us tonight. Just a few plugs. You like those of you who already follow me, thank you very much. But all of my usernames on my socials is All American Hooper. On Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm most active on TikTok, but however, I've become much more active on Instagram lately too. And you can also take a look at my column at primetimesportstalk.com. I mentioned my top 10. I do my bi-weekly power rankings there. I also have a few all-time and current lists there. You check it out there. But if you can like and subscribe that'd be great. Matt, thanks so much for coming on, as always.
Yeah, Chris, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure being on here. Love coming on the pod, and let's go Celtics. Let's go
Celtics. All right. Again, like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a great night.